And all you guys now know that the Supreme Court has announced its decision in Windsor versus the United States. And we won everything we asked and hoped for. Wow. I'm honored and humbled and overjoyed to be here today to represent not only the thousands of Americans whose lives have been adversely impacted by the Defense of Marriage Act, but those whose hopes and dreams have been constricted by the same discriminatory law.
It is my honor and privilege to be at Edie Windsor's apartment today, a couple of days before the convention, so that I can actually present on behalf of our 1.6 million members of the American Federation of Teachers, our 2014 Women's Rights Award. And we could think of no one better to give it to, Edie, but you, given your life of activism, the life of love and compassion that you had and showed with Thea, and the work that you've done in the last few years to actually make sure that this country was a better and more equal country. Fighting in the courts all the way to the Supreme Court for spousal benefits, for striking down unfair tax laws and discrimination laws, and for actually forging the road to marriage equality. That's what everyone now knows about Edie Windsor. But what I know about Edie Windsor is that this is not just the Supreme Court. This is you, the person who has been courageous like this for all the years that I've known you. And so on behalf of the AFT and our 1.6 million members, we are honored to award you with the 2014 Women's Rights Award.
Thank you so much. I'm thrilled. I'm just so thrilled with it.
I know that what our folks at the breakfast will want to know is just a little bit from you instead of from me about the case, about your current activism, and what you want the case and its legacy to be.
Well, the case came to be because right after Thea died, I had a heart attack. So I was close to dead, and the day I was leaving, one of the filmmakers who had done the documentary about me and Thea came in with a copy of an email from the San Francisco Gay Film Festival saying, "Can you be ready by June?" And she said, "Edie, could we be ready by June?" And I said, "Sure, let's go." Okay, and I okay. So we traveled with the film, and I became more and more convinced.
This is the documentary.
Edie and Thea,
that
A Very
you
Long
and Thea
Engagement,
did,
which
right.
I had made during the last 2 years of Thea's life.
Right. It's a wonderful documentary.
Okay, great. Yeah, it is wonderful. And I felt I had a documented marriage.
How many years were you and Thea together?
43 3/4 total.
43 and 3/4.
Yes. Actually, we met in 1963. We didn't begin to date till 65. But whenever we met at parties and stuff, we danced together. And but she was always with somebody, so there's no question of anything. And in 65, we started to date seriously, and in 67, we were on the way out to the Hamptons to a rental property, and she asked me, she said, "Suppose you wanted to be engaged, what would you wear an engagement ring to IBM?" And
that's where you were working at the time?
Yes, yeah. And I said no, because first thing everybody will ask, who is he and when do we meet him? And so, no. Anyhow, she conned me into, as we arrived where we were going, we got out of the car, she knelt down and took out this, but she conned me first into saying, well, I guess it would have to be a pin, a circular pin with diamonds. And did we ever think we'd get married? No. And at some point I said to her, do you want to go to Canada? Okay, by then New York had ascertained that had said, yes, indeed, they accepted, recognized marriages, legal marriages from anywhere. And she said, by then she was very crippled, and she said, not really, but I'll go. Well, we'll go if it means a lot to you. And I said, no, let's forget it, the thought of leaving her without the lifts and the ramps and everything else we had was, just intolerable if she wasn't dying to do it too. Right. And something like a year later, she got a prognosis that said she had a year to live. And she got up the next morning and she said, "You still want to get married?" And I said, "Yes." She said, "Me too, let's go." So we did it, and I got up the next morning and said, "Does it feel different?" People kept saying, "What could be different after 40 some years?" And it turned out marriage could be different. It felt different.
Wow.
And I ask every couple who have been living together for a long time, who have gotten married now, was it different the next day? And every single one says, yes, absolutely. And it's hard to put into words. Okay, there's something profound, particularly because we never thought we could have it. Right. Okay, so it really is different. Anyhow, okay. So,
and a lot of people have said that to me, that it is very different, particularly since we didn't feel like we could, and in fact, legally we couldn't.
Yeah, we could. I feel like a citizen suddenly. Okay, I never felt I belonged truly.
Tell me, how did you decide to take the case from the beginning?
Oh, I was indignant as hell. Not that there was a tax. I knew there would be a tax. Yes. When the tax came, they added in $600,000 in gifts that Thea had given me over the years, which she inherited twice. Not huge amounts, but significant sums. And she immediately gifted me, because we tried to keep we tried to stay even all the time. And here I had this document.
The marriage certificate.
Yeah, okay, and I said, this is a documented marriage. And I spoke to the gay organizations that we had supported for the last 20, 30 years, and I was told it's the wrong time for the movement. Okay, and I kept saying, I do have this documented marriage, and you're not going to find a lot of that. Okay, you might want to use it.
Thea had passed, and then afterwards, you got this tax bill, which you wouldn't have gotten
if
you were a man and a woman
the way Robin
legally
put it
married.
Was, if Thea had been Theo, if I met him yesterday and we had never lived together, it still would have been zero if we got married. Right.
So Robbie came into your life,
right? And we went to work. And from time to time, I would start to say, I don't really care about the money anymore. I made a lot of adjustments to what income I need.
So it became about the principle, not about the money.
Yeah, very much, very much. Except I wasn't allowed to say that publicly until after the decision. Okay.
Right, because as Robbie said to you,
okay.
to have a legal case, you have to actually have a legal problem or be harmed in a real way.
She explained to me that okay, I could still stop. She said, you're the plaintiff, and you have to choose whether you want to go through with the Supreme Court. Right. And if we go to the Supreme Court, we could lose everything. Right. You won't see your money, you won't anything.
So you took a big risk because you won at the lower court.
It wasn't a risk. It wasn't a risk. Okay?
As a fight.
It wasn't a risk. By then
you decided you were going to take this for everybody.
No way I could face the gay community and say, I won and you lost. Okay, there's no way. Okay.
If we had kids in this audience right now, 10 years from hence, what would we be telling them is the legacy of this case?
Okay. Can I read you something? Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. I made
Absolutely.
Notes. Okay. So there are 19 states plus D.C., number of states which are now recognized. 3 states have civil unions or domestic partnerships. 14 states have legislation pending. 7 states have bills on the docket. 107 national lawsuits are pending all across the country, and really all across the country. 33 states still to be won. Okay, and my old list. Those kids won't know, I hope, or will know less about what I always added the moment I was anywhere I was allowed to. Okay. Like, what do I think would happen if we win? And I thought it would be the beginning of the end of stigma, it would be the beginning of teenagers falling in love for the first time and knowing they had a future. Okay.
Regardless of who they love.
And hence the suicide rate dropping. Okay, I talked about the end of internalized homophobia, because everybody's self-esteem from the number of times it says respect in that decision. Okay, changed radically. Okay. Yes, it's a Supreme Court that is definitely, biased in one direction and very often. I really believe that ultimately justice, I'm stuck in sixth grade civics, okay? I believe in the Constitution. I believe it will ultimately, yes, sometimes terrible things happen, but I believe that ultimately justice will get through. Right?
It's kind of like what Martin Luther King
Yes, okay.
Jr. said,
Yes.
that the arc turns towards justice,
Yes, yeah.
or bends
Yeah,
towards
yeah.
justice.
Yeah. And
Well,
the other thing is,
I think you did more than bending it, Edie.
Yeah.
I think you actually made it ricochet right towards justice.
Well, whatchamacallit, Justice Greenberg has said no other, in all her experience, she could not imagine the speed of things that are happening.
Exactly.
That doesn't happen. They no happen as a result of no other case. The more that happens, the more self-esteem people have, the more people come out. The more people come out, the more the world sees us and notices that we don't have horns. Okay, and so yes, ultimately I think, like I'm in love with the gay community, but ultimately I hope there won't be a gay community. I hope there will just be, an American community, okay, a worldwide community.
That embraces everybody's diversity
Yes.
and everybody's love.
Yes.
So it's pretty obvious why the American Federation of Teachers, why this union of professionals wanted to honor you this year with the Women's Rights Award. We're so grateful that you were willing to accept it.
I am
And
so
we're
grateful.
so grateful that we had this time to actually talk about your story
Yeah.
and the legacy. Thank you so much, Edie.
Thank you again from the bottom of my heart. It's thrilling to me.
Thank you. Love you.
Likewise.